As the war with Iran continues to escalate and Israel and the United States move to destroy the Islamic Republic, troubling events much closer to home are currently unfolding. In recent days, multiple attacks which all bear the same hallmarks of the Iranian regime have occurred. Yet despite the obvious pattern, messaging to Canadians by our leaders imply that these are just isolated incidents. But when synagogues, Iranian dissidents, and American political targets are all being attacked within days of each other, the obvious question is, why isn't our government calling these attacks what they really are? And why aren't they doing more to stop them? Here's what's unfolded so far. On March 1st, a Thornhill gym owned by a well-known Canadian-Iranian activist was sprayed with gunfire, destroying the front of the building. Just a day later, on March 2nd, Temple Emmanuel Synagogue was struck with over a dozen bullets, just after Jewish congregants had left a gathering for the holiday of Purim. The following weekend, during Shabbat on March 6th, two more synagogues were targeted in similar attacks, occurring only 30 minutes apart. Then, only days ago, in the early hours of March 10th, the U.S. consulate in Toronto was shot with gunfire by two suspects in an incident police themselves have described as a national security incident. The attack came just days after pro-regime demonstrators gathered outside the U.S. Embassy chanting "Death to America" and "Death to Israel." The connections are obvious to everyone, it seems, except our political leaders. Following the attacks, the predictable condemnations poured in with statements of concern and solidarity, denunciations of anti-Semitism, and sympathy for the Jewish community. But our political and law enforcement leaders appear to be missing the bigger picture. These attacks are not merely harmless attacks in the middle of the night. They are coordinated and purposeful to intimidate and sow fear within Canada. It is time Canadian leaders call these attacks by their rightful name. This is terrorism, and it is a national security issue that demands urgent attention. With over 700 agents linked to the Iranian regime operating in Canada, and with Premier Doug Ford himself recently acknowledging the presence of sleeper agents in our country, it is clear the words of condemnation are not enough. Without decisive and coordinated action from Mark Carney and our federal government, along with all other levels of government and law enforcement to confront and dismantle these Islamic extremist networks and their terrorism, these attacks will only escalate. Canada can't let that happen. We must wake up to this threat now before it's too late.
And has no place in Toronto. It is completely unacceptable, and the Toronto Police Service is dedicating no small amount of resources to dealing with it.